In the dark silence of the underground military base, the air was heavy with tension as senior officers gathered around a long steel table. The dim lights above flickered as if even electricity feared the discussion that was about to begin every mission against the alien world called Erebos. 9 had ended the same way with total disappearance. No bodies, no wreckage, no signals, only silence that stretched across the stars. The commander's voice was sharp as he pressed the button on the projector, and grainy footage appeared on the wall, soldiers in black armor screaming through broken comms. The video filled the room with the sound of static and fear. One voice shouted, "We are not alone here." Then the feed cut, and nothing more followed. The room trembled with unease as they all knew this was not the first time the same happened. With the last 5 teams, they all went into the shadow of that cursed planet and never came back. The scientists called it a death world, a planet that rejected outsiders. The soldiers called it hell. The commanders called it classified. But among whispers, it was known by only one name: the place. No man returns from one of the officers leaned forward, his face pale as he spoke. We lost ships, we lost weapons, we lost the best trained men and women, and still no answer. What waits on Erebos 9? No one can tell. It is as if the planet itself swallows them alive. The commander tapped his fingers on the steel table and said, "The council has demanded one last mission and elite team. They will not accept refusal," and silence spread like smoke across the room. Everyone knew what that meant, sending another squad into a grave with no markers. One of the younger officers argued, "Sir, with respect, every mission has ended the same way. We send them and we lose them. Nothing remains, not even metal, not even ashes. Are we going to sacrifice more lives for the same fate?" The commander's eyes hardened, and his voice turned colder than ice. "Orders are orders, and orders will be followed," but inside, even he carried the same fear, because something about Erebos 9 was not natural. It was not just hostile nature or alien beasts. It was deeper, like a secret hidden inside the bones of the planet, as if the world itself was alive, as if it was watching. The commander pressed another button, and the room filled with more evidence. Audio recordings, broken fragments. One soldier breathing hard, whispering, "I see something in the fog. It is huge. It is moving trees. Bend when it passes, then silence." Another voice crackled with static, saying, "My compass is spinning. The ground feels like it is shaking under me." Then a scream, and the signal cut. The last file was only a whisper, barely human, saying, "Do not send more." "Here we are not meant to be here, then?" Nothing. No one spoke after the last words faded into the air. The silence of the base felt louder than thunder. Finally, the commander stood straight, his voice steady, but his eyes betrayed the weight of the truth. "Tomorrow at dawn, the new team leaves. They are the best of the best, chosen, not for courage, but for survival. Because this planet does not test skill. It tests the will to exist itself. They will go in fully armed with the strongest technology. Yet, but no one believed weapons would save them, because weapons had already failed against shadows outside the base. The sky was black clouds rolling like smoke across the night horizon, as if the world itself knew of the decision made within the walls. The chosen soldiers walked the corridors, silent faces lit by red warning lights. They had heard the rumors, they had seen the broken footage, and they knew, deep inside, they might never walk back on Earth. But orders were orders, and honor was heavier than fear. One soldier paused before the armory door, his hands trembling not from weakness, but from instinct. Something inside him whispered that once they stepped foot on Erebos 9, the planet would mark them, and they would not belong to Earth anymore. The commanders gave final instructions, but their words sounded like echoes, hollow and meaningless against the weight of the truth that everyone felt, but no one dared speak. Every mission against Deathworlders ends the same way: total disappearance. And as the night deepened and the stars outside glowed cold and distant, the new squad prepared for the journey. Their eyes sharp, their hearts heavy, knowing that by dawn they would cross into the jaws of a world that devoured every soul that dared to touch its soil, a world that did not forgive a world that was waiting for them. The ship tore through the black sky of space like a blade of light, its engines roaring as the crew inside sat strapped in silence. The planet. Erebos 9 grew larger in the viewing screen, a burning sphere wrapped in storms and red clouds as if it carried fire under its skin. Alarms already blinked across the cockpit panels. The pilot cursed under his breath, sensors failing navigation spinning, readings shifting like illusions. It was as if the planet itself was jamming their instruments. One soldier whispered, "It does not want us here." Another clenched his jaw, refusing to let fear seep into his veins. The commander's voice was sharp, steady. Focus on descent, keep formation, and hold your breath. The ship rattled like bones shaking in a storm as the gravity of the world dragged it downward, heavier than Earth, heavier than anything they trained for their bodies pressed hard into their seats, and the metal walls groaned as if the atmosphere itself wanted to crush them. The windows flashed red, then black, then red again as they pierced layers of cloud lightning striking across the sky, but not natural lightning. This was thick and alive like veins of fire cracking open in the heavens. Every flash showed strange shapes in the distance, tall moving shadows that seemed too large to belong to any creature, then gone. When the light faded, the soldiers exchanged glances, tight fists, gripping their rifles, but no one spoke because words would only confirm the fear that crawled in their bones. The ship hit turbulence and dropped hard, alarms blared. The pilot screamed, "I lost control!" But the commander's voice cut through steady. "And hard fight it, hold it. This planet is trying to tear us down. Do not let it." The ground rushed up faster than their eyes could follow, and the ship slammed into the soil with a scream of metal throwing sparks into the red dust clouds rose like smoke swallowing their vision when the chaos settled. The silence was not peace. It was a silence that pressed against the ears, heavy and alive like a presence. The soldiers unstrapped their belts, gasping lungs aching under the strange air. It was thicker, darker, carrying a taste of iron that clung to the tongue. One soldier coughed hard, his visor fogging as the commander ordered helmet-sealed oxygen levels, unstable check suits, and weapons stay tight. They opened the ramp and a wave of heat rolled inside, not just hot, but living heat, like the breath of a predator watching them. The ground outside was black rock, cracked like broken glass, glowing with veins of red fire that pulsed as if blood ran beneath the surface. The sky above was a storm of clouds, but every now and then, holes opened, showing stars that bent strangely, as if the air itself was warping their light. The squad stepped out one by one, boots sinking slightly into the soil, as if the ground did not want to hold them. Their comms clicked, but only static answered no contact with command. The link was gone. Cut the instant they touched the planet. The commander's eyes narrowed and he gave the signal, "Keep formation. Watch your sides do not drift." The jungle loomed ahead, but it was not a jungle like Earth, trees twisted in impossible shapes, their bark black, their leaves glowing faint blue light that pulsed like breath, each branch curled like claws, each root stretched like chains across the ground, the air. Inside was darker even with lights on their suits. Shadows stretched longer than they should, moving slower than the soldiers themselves. One of them whispered, "It feels like the forest is alive." Another said it is watching us. And as if to answer, the soil shook a low tremor running under their boots. Distant roars rolled across the air, but not like animals, more like the sound of mountains grinding together. They pressed forward deeper, every step dragging them further away from the world. They once knew silence wrapped them except for the hiss of their suits and the crunch of their boots. Then a scream tore the air, sudden sharp. One of the soldiers in the rear formation was gone, his place empty as if he had been swallowed in the blink of an eye. The squad spun, weapons raised, scanning every shadow, every branch. But there was nothing, only the faint echo of the scream fading into the trees. One soldier shouted his name, but the sound was devoured by the jungle. The commander's hand rose, fists closed, silence, hold formation, weapons ready, eyes sharp. The ground shook again, and from the trees a shape moved, tall, wide, and silent, larger than any building they had seen, its outline shifting as if it was not made of flesh but of shadow and storm. The squad froze, hearts pounding, breath short. Their lights caught only fragments, an arm longer than a ship's wing, claws scraping against bark. Then darkness again. It did not attack. It only moved slowly, circling, watching like a hunter toying with its prey, and as the silence closed around them tighter than chains, the soldiers realized the stories were true. The planet was alive. The planet was hunting them. The jungle was thick with shadows that bent and stretched in unnatural ways. Every step the soldiers took felt heavier, as if the ground was pulling them down, trying to root them into the soil. The air pressed against their helmets, fogging their visors. Even though oxygen flowed inside, the commander gave the order to sweep the area where the missing soldier had been. But there was nothing. No broken branches, no blood, not even footprints, as if he had been erased from existence. One of the men cursed under his breath while another whispered, "Maybe he never came with us. Maybe we imagined him." The commander snapped enough, "Keep focus," but even his voice shook slightly. They pressed forward, lights sweeping across twisted trees, glowing, faint blue, their leaves pulsing like they were breathing. The silence around them was not silence. It was breathing heavy, slow, constant. The planet itself inhaling and exhaling with them. Suddenly, one soldier shouted contact and raised his rifle. The beams from his helmet light landed on something ahead. It was the missing man's helmet lying half buried in black soil, torn open with deep claw marks across the surface. The visor cracked wide, a single drop of blood smeared on the inside. There was no body. The squad froze, staring at the broken piece of armor, their minds racing through the same thought. Whatever took him was strong enough to tear through reinforced steel. One of the younger soldiers whispered, "It is not animals here. It is something else. Something smarter." The commander stepped forward, picked up the helmet, and his grip tightened. He turned slowly, scanning the trees before speaking. Voice low and firm. "We are not alone, and we are being watched." The words hung heavy, in the air, like a curse. And then the forest answered. The leaves trembled with no wind. The ground vibrated as if footsteps pressed deep into the earth, but no shape could be seen. The soldiers aimed rifles in every direction, their lights cutting. Through fog that seemed to thicken around them, one soldier's comm crackled with static. Then a voice not his own slid through the channel, a low alien whisper, slow and sharp. "You should not have come here." The squad froze, their eyes wide. The voice was not human. Yet it spoke in perfect human language, like it reached into their minds and found the words they understood. The static ended, leaving silence heavier than before. The commander ordered all channels closed, but it did not matter. The voice had not needed radios. It had been inside their heads. One of the men panicked, firing into the trees. His bullets lit sparks across the bark, but the rounds disappeared into the fog like stones sinking into water. No echoes, no ricochet, nothing. The commander grabbed his shoulder. "Stop, conserve fire. This is what it wants." But his words felt hollow against the rising fear. The forest began to move around them, trees shifting positions, roots curling and uncoiling like snakes. The ground sloped. Where it had been flat, the world itself bending to confuse their senses. Their compasses spun in circles. Their digital maps showed only blank screens. One soldier suddenly cried out, clutching his helmet. He screamed, "They are in my head! They are!" showing me things. His body jerked as he fell to his knees. The commander grabbed him, pulling the visor up, and saw his eyes rolling back, visions reflecting in them, flames, cities burning, oceans boiling. His voice cracked as he muttered, "Earth is gone. I can see it. They destroyed Earth." The commander shook him hard, shouting, "Focus. It is not real." But the soldier only screamed louder until his voice broke into sobs and silence. Then he slumped limp alive, but lost his eyes empty, staring into nothing. The others pulled back, forming a circle. Weapons aimed outward, hearts pounding, sweat dripping down inside their suits. The jungle around them pulsed the light from glowing leaves, growing brighter, then dimmer like the beat of a giant heart. The commander spoke, voice low, to keep control. "Listen to me. They are not just creatures. They are hunters, intelligent. They are shaping the land. They are inside our heads. This is not a battle of guns. It is a battle of will. We hold each other. We hold formation, or we vanish like the rest." The words steadied them only slightly, but the fear clung like chains, and when the fog grew thicker, swallowing their lights, they all knew the Deathworlders were not far. They were close, watching, circling, deciding who would disappear next. The fog grew so thick that the soldiers could barely see the ground under their boots. Every beam of light from their suits seemed swallowed whole. The jungle pressed closer, trees curling inwards, roots twisting across their path like hands reaching to drag them down. The commander pushed forward, scanning the shifting shadows. His voice firm, "Stay tight. Do not break formation. Keep eyes sharp." But fear gnawed at every step. Then ahead, through the haze, something glimmered. Faint metal buried under vines, the squad approached carefully. Rifles raised, hearts pounding. The commander pulled away the growth and revealed a door rusted half open, leading into the ground, an old bunker hidden beneath layers of roots, a symbol, painted on the steel half torn but clearly human. The squad exchanged glances. This was impossible. No one had ever returned from Erebos 9, and yet here was proof someone had tried to survive. They forced the door wider, its screech echoing into the depths, and stepped inside. Their lights flickered across narrow corridors, walls covered in scratches. Both human and alien words carved in desperation, warnings written over and over. "Do not listen. Do not believe, it is in your head." One soldier touched the wall and whispered, "Someone was alive here. Someone knew the truth." The deeper they moved, the more the air stank of rot and damp. Their lights landed on broken gear helmets, cracked rifles snapped in half, food packets torn open, but also notebooks. Scattered across the floor, the commander picked one up, its pages filled with frantic writing. The voice comes when you are weak. The voice shows you what you fear. It makes you see home. It makes you want to follow, and once you follow, you vanish. The soldiers listened as he read the words, heavy and broken. It was like hearing the ghost of the ones who came before. Another notebook held darker truth. They are not beasts. They are not demons. They are mind fire. They twist reality. They twist thought. They turn man against man until nothing remains but silence. One of the squad members swallowed hard and whispered, "Sir, what if we are already hearing them? What if we are already lost?" The commander ignored the question, but inside he felt it, the truth pressing hard against his skull. The hallucinations had already begun outside. The fog thickened, pressing against the bunker walls as if trying to crawl inside. Then footsteps echoed from the corridor ahead, slow, dragging, uneven. The squad raised rifles, lights flashing down the hall, and there stood a figure, a human form, thin, broken armor hanging from its shoulders, eyes glowing faint white, its voice cracked like glass, but still human. Leave before it takes you to." The squad froze, hearts hammering. One of them whispered, "Impossible, he is from the old missions, he survived," but the commander's eyes narrowed. "No one survives here." The figure staggered forward. His movements twisted his skin, pale veins dark under the surface. When the light struck his face, they saw patches not human anymore, his jaw stretched too long, his fingers clawed, his voice broken. I tried to resist, I tried to fight, but it never lets go. It does not kill it, takes and remakes the soldier. Closest to him stepped back, fear dripping into his voice. What are you now? Are you one of them? The figure's head tilted, almost sorrowful. I am both. I remember Earth, but it is fading soon. There will be nothing left, only them. The squad kept rifles, locked, but the commander raised a hand, lowering their aim. His instincts screamed danger, but the man's eyes, though glowing, still carried something human, desperate pleading. He whispered, "Run while you still can. It wants you to fight, it wants you to lose yourselves." One soldier muttered, "Maybe he is lying. Maybe this is the trick." But another shook his head. What if it is not the trick? What if this is the warning we were never meant to hear? The figure stumbled closer, every step shaking his, voice rising sharper. You do not understand. This planet is alive. It tests you. It whispers until you obey, and once you obey, you disappear into it forever. The commander stared into the half-human, half-alien face and felt the weight of the words. Pressing down, he knew this was no hallucination. This was real. A survivor broken reshaped, a warning carved in flesh. The silence in the bunker grew thick as the squad realized they were not the first, and they would not be the last, and the longer. They stayed the louder. The whispers grew, crawling into their heads like knives of thought, telling them, "Leave your weapons. Follow the light, trust the voice," until nothing of them remained. The bunker walls seemed to close in around the squad as the half-human figure staggered closer, his eyes glowing faint like dying stars. His voice breaking with each word, he whispered, "They are not monsters. They are not mindless killers. They are guardians older than your world, older than your sun. They erase what must be erased to keep balance." The squad froze, trying to understand, but the commander's voice was sharp. Guardians of what? The figure's twisted face cracked into something, like sorrow, guardians of the galaxy itself. Any species that grows too violent, too greedy, too dangerous to others, they erase them. They do not conquer, they do not enslave, they simply remove and forget. Your people were marked long ago. Each mission sent here is not exploration. It is judgment. The words struck like knives. The soldiers shifted, unsteady hearts pounding one of them. "Spat lies, you are trying to break us." But the figure shook his head violently, voice shattering. "You think weapons matter here. Bullets vanish. Tanks, rust ships turn to dust. Nothing survives, not because of power, but because of choice. This world is alive. It is their trial ground, and all who come are weighed." The commander's grip on his rifle tightened, but doubt crawled inside his mind. The survivor's body trembled as if his time was almost gone. His skin cracked, glowing faint red veins pulsing like fire under glass. His voice grew weaker. "They showed me what I could not deny, our wars, our bombs, our hunger. To destroy. They will not allow it. They will never allow it." The jungle outside trembled, roots scraping across the bunker walls, dust falling from the ceiling as if the planet itself reacted to his words. One of the soldiers suddenly screamed, clutching, his helmet, his eyes wide. "I see it. I see Earth cities burning, oceans, black skies filled with fire. The voice tells me it is all gone already." The commander grabbed him, shouting, "Focus, it is lies, hold your mind." But deep inside, he wondered, what if it was not lies? What if it was the truth unfolding ahead of time? Another soldier raised his rifle, pointing at the survivor, his voice sharp. "We cannot trust him. He is one of them. He is already lost." But the man's glowing eyes turned sad. "If you fight, you vanish. If you listen, you may live. That is the only rule." The squad stood frozen, torn between fear and disbelief until the ground shook harder. A roar rolling through the jungle outside. Not the sound of one beast, but of thousands moving. Together, the trees rattled. The bunker walls creaked, the glowing leaves outside pulsed brighter. The commander shouted, "Move out! Stay tight!" The squad rushed back into the open air. The fog swallowed them again, thick and choking lights bending sound. Twisting their radios cracked alive with whispers. Not theirs. Voices of loved ones. Voices of home. One soldier heard his daughter calling, "Daddy, please come back." Another heard his brother's laugh telling him to follow deeper into the jungle. The commander shouted, "Ignore it! Keep moving!" But the voices grew stronger, sharper, more personal. A soldier broke from formation, chasing into the trees, screaming, "I hear them! They are here!" The commander ordered hold position, but two more soldiers began. To panic, firing blindly into shadows, the bullets vanished into the fog, like water into sand. No echoes, no marks. The survivors' warning rang in their minds. If you fight, you vanish. The ground erupted, roots tearing upward, trees shifting as if the whole forest had awakened, eyes opened in the fog, glowing thousands of pale lights surrounding them. The Deathworlders had come not as beasts, but as an army of shadows and flame. The soldiers pressed back against each other, hearts pounding fear. Choking every breath, some raised rifles. Others lowered them, torn between instinct and the warning. The commander's voice shook, but he forced strength into it. This is the truth. We face them now, and the choice will decide if we vanish or if we live around them. The air bent. Light twisted, the world itself seemed to breathe as the Deathworlders circled closer and closer, their judgment ready to fall. The fog thickened until the soldiers could no longer see each other's faces. Only the faint glow of suit lights flickering in and out as if swallowed by the air. The jungle pulsed like a living heart, roots shifting under their boots, branches curling like claws above their heads. The commander stood at the center, rifle raised, though he knew in his bones bullets meant nothing here. His voice cracked over the calm hold formation. "Do not break. Do not fire until I give the order," but fear was stronger than discipline. One soldier screamed, "They are everywhere," and opened fire. The bullets flashed bright for an instant, then vanished into the fog, swallowed whole without echo, without impact, without reason. The Deathworlders did not move. They only circled, thousands of pale, glowing eyes flickering in the mist, their forms shifting taller. Then buildings wider than ships, shadows that did not belong to flesh or bone. One soldier dropped his weapon, knees, shaking his voice, broken, "They want us to surrender." The survivors' words echoed in their heads. If you fight, you vanish. If you listen, you may live. But could they trust a creature half turned into the very enemy that haunted them? Another soldier shouted, "Never," and hurled a grenade. The explosion lit the fog for one blinding second, but when the smoke cleared, there was nothing, not even fire, as if the grenade had never existed. The soldier who threw it blinked once and then he was gone, not killed, not torn apart, simply erased from sight. No scream, no trace, only empty space where a human had been. The squad froze, horror gripping their throats. One of them whispered, "God help us," and dropped his rifle, falling to his knees. The commander's mind raced, heart pounding. He had seen men die but never vanish, as if history itself erased them. The voices in their helmets grew louder, now whispers layered with familiar tones. Mothers, fathers, children, lovers, calling them home, begging them to lay down arms, to trust the light. The commander's hands shook as he gripped his rifle tighter, torn between instinct to fight and the truth, carved into his mind. Weapons did nothing, resistance meant nothing. If he ordered fire again, his squad would be erased one by one, swallowed into silence. The ground trembled harder, a rhythm like a heartbeat echoing through the soil, each thud stronger, as if the planet itself was waiting for his choice. The glowing eyes pressed closer, forming a wall of light surrounding them until escape was impossible. The commander closed his eyes for a moment, memories flashing of Earth, the wars, the endless hunger for power. The survivor's broken words, they erase what must be erased. His chest tightened, breath caught. Then he opened his eyes and dropped his rifle to the ground. The clatter echoed louder than thunder in the silence of the fog. His voice, steady but heavy with the weight of surrender, stand down. Now drop your weapons. If you fire, you are already dead. Some soldiers hesitated, panic burning in their eyes, but the commander shouted again louder, "Drop them now, obey or you vanish." 2 soldiers obeyed, dropping their rifles, knees shaking, but alive. Another refused, shouting, "No, never," and raised his gun the instant he pulled the trigger. His body flickered like smoke in wind and was gone, erased like he had never lived. The others gasped horror, freezing their veins, then slowly, one by one, they lowered their weapons until only the commander's voice carried through the fog. "We surrender. Do you hear me? We surrender." The glowing eyes pulsed brighter, the fog trembled, then silence deepened, thicker than before. And in that silence, the Deathworlders moved not with violence, but with light forms dissolving into waves of energy that wrapped around the squad, warm, heavy, pulling each of them into weightless void. One soldier cried out, but the sound was swallowed as his body faded like dust in wind one by one. They vanished until only the commander remained, kneeling, head bowed, arms open. The light surrounded him, pressing into his skin, into his mind, into his soul. Then everything went dark. He awoke on Earth, his body trembling, his uniform torn but whole. He gasped air into his lungs, real air, sky above blue, not red, his hands clutching dirt, not ash. Alarms blared in the distance, soldiers rushing to him, voices shouting, "Sir, sir, you are alive." But his mind still echoed with whispers of fog and eyes and light. He staggered to his feet, staring at the screens inside the base one by one. They lit up with the same words burned across the glass: "Every mission against Deathworlders ends the same way, total disappearance." But this time he remembered. This time he carried the truth in his mind, and he knew the judgment of the Guardians was not finished. Humanity had been tested, and soon the rest of the world would face the same. Choice, surrender, or vanish.